All right, hello 5th grade. I hope you had an excellent time at recess. Was it fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it cold outside?
No.
Yeah. Okay, a little bit. Okay, so we've been talking about geographic landforms, and so we're going to do a bit of review before we start our lesson today. So I'm going to draw your name from the sticks and tell you which landform I'd like you to come up and point to. Okay. Lauren, can you please come point to mountains?
Yeah. I believe they're these.
Yeah, great. Okay, so those are mountains. Will Caitlin please come point to the desert? Yeah.
To the desert.
The desert. Okay. Great. Good job. Okay. Next is Lake Tara. Can you come point to the lake, please?
Lake Tara.
Lake Tara. Exactly, that's a lake. Okay. Next is volcano. David.
Yes.
Good. Next is the ocean. Allie Lehman. Yeah, that's the ocean. All right. Next is forest. Can Janie please come point to the forest? The forest. Oh, it's already up there. Forest. Great. Next is river. Sarah. That's the river. Right, a little lower. Oh, and there's island. Okay, so we know where the island is. Right there. Can Allie Jost please come point to a delta? This is pretty tough.
Oh, I think I know.
Nope. Okay, that's
This one. Oh yeah, I can see that now.
yeah. Good. Okay, so that's a delta, and we have a couple more. Katie, can you please come point to the beach? We've talked a little bit about the beach. Good. So you can see the nice palm trees. Those aren't at every type of beach. They're also rocky beaches, and we talked about that a little bit. We'll talk more about that today. Kayla, can you please come point to a valley? Oh, there you are. You see it? Good, yeah. Big dip there. Okay, Mallory, can you come point to the waterfall, please?
Oh.
It's a little hard to see on this picture, so it's all right. Good, waterfall. All right, I'm putting everybody's name back in. We have a couple more to do. Okay, this one's kind of tough. A tributary. Caitlin.
You can do it.
What do you know about a tributary? Do you know if it's land or water? Water. Okay, so where do you see water? That's a different type of water. It's involving a river. So where do you see a river? Good. Yay, tributary. Good job. Good work. Okay, coastline. Tara. So we're getting into the ones we're not as familiar with. So I'm proud of you guys for working hard. Yeah. All right, coastline. Yeah, focus. And we know where canyon is now. Okay, can Sarah please come label the marsh?
This one?
Not that one. It's this one. Yeah. Yep. All right, we have a couple left. Plateau. Allie Jost. Do you see the plateau?
Oh, I know.
Excellent. All right, we have one left, and that is Jamie. Can you label the tundra? Process of elimination. Let me see. This is tough. Great job. Okay, so in our book Flush, we've been reading a lot about Florida geography, and we're not as familiar with that since we're all living in Kansas right now. Okay, so who out of you have been to Florida? Great. Okay, so as we're going to talk about Florida geography today, I'm handing you a map, and I would like you to get out your pencil and your crayons or colored pencils, not markers though, if that's all right.
Bring on the.
Okay, so when people think of Florida, they often think of the ocean. And so what landform do we notice that Florida is? Can you think of what landform that might be? Mallory. Excellent. Okay, so Florida is a peninsula. So Mallory just told us that. Why do you think Florida is a peninsula? Why did she answer that? Who can tell me? Yeah.
Because three sides are surrounded by bodies of water.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So on your paper at the bottom, in this region here, like down here, I'd like you to write Florida is a peninsula because, and then tell me why Florida is a peninsula. In a complete sentence, because we are fifth graders. And then go ahead and look up at me when you're done. Okay, so we know that Florida is a peninsula because it's surrounded by bodies of water on three sides. Do we know what these bodies of water are called? Can you see that from our map? Because today we're talking about Florida's geography and reading more about maps. So do you see what bodies of water surround Florida? Who can tell me? David?
Gulf of Mexico, Atlantic Ocean.
Exactly. So on your Florida map, I'd like you to label the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, and I'm looking at this map and I see a couple of different colors of blue. And I'm wondering, why are these different colors of blue in the ocean? Who can tell me why they think that is? Talk with your table groups and talk about why there are different colors of blue on this map. You guys know?
I think so.
Okay, so I've heard some really good discussion. Let's bring it back together. I've heard some good discussion. So who can tell me why there are different colors of blue on this map? Allie.
The depths.
The depths, exactly. Okay, so what does the light blue mean?
It's shallow.
It's shallow, yeah, and so it gradually gets deeper, and then the color of blue gets darker. Okay, so do you see how we would know how deep the water would be? Do you see something on this map that would tell us that? David, what do you see?
The legend.
Ooh, can you come up and point to it? Good, all right. So, this is perfect. Okay, so we have three different keys or legends here. So we've been very familiar with these two down here, like telling us where the state capital would be, or how big cities are based on the different types of dots that are used to label them. And this one we know, what does this one do? We've talked about this before.
It shows us the distance.
Yeah, it shows us the distance, so we can see the distance on a small thing and understand how big it is in real life. This one is pretty self-explanatory. We haven't talked about it before, but if you didn't know where Florida would be, you could see, oh, it's a part of North America and it's a state in the United States. But this one shows us how elevation with the green and depths with the blues. And so here where you see the 0, that's what we call sea level. So that's where we start going up for elevation and going down for depth. So the green, it will gradually get darker as we go higher. So if I have a mountain, I have a darker shade of green, whereas if I have a valley, it gets pretty light. And here, if I have a lake, it's probably what color? Is it a dark blue or a light blue? A light blue, yeah, and then it'll gradually get deeper. Will we have this color of lake ever, do you think? No, because the ocean is way deeper than a lake. Good. Okay. So I would like you to shade very carefully some lighter colors of the ocean. So around Florida, it's kind of light, and then you'll gradually get darker. I see some excellent 5th grade shading. And when you're done, go ahead and look up at me so I know you're ready to move on. All right, it appears like most people are ready. If you're not, you can go ahead and stop and finish it later. So when people think of the ocean, they generally think of beaches. And so Florida has a lot of beaches. And it's unlike a lot of other states because most of the beaches are sandy. And beaches don't always have to be sandy. They can also be rocky. Have any of you ever been to the beach in Florida? All right. Did you like the beach or what did you think about the beach? Talk with your table partners if you've been there. Or if you haven't, I'd like you to talk about why you would like to visit. Okay, around Florida, I'd like you to draw a thin yellow line around the outline of Florida and label it beaches. You don't have to label it more than once, but just once, so you know what that yellow line is for. Florida is a very wet state, and it has a lot of lakes and swamps. And one of the lakes that Florida has is Lake Okeechobee, and it's a very large lake, as you can see here, and it's in the center of the state. If you want to just draw kind of like a circle type of shape in the southern part of the state, go ahead and do that now. And as I said, Florida is very wet, and Florida is known for its swamps. Do we have swamps in Kansas? No swamps in Kansas. And so swamps are a very wet region of land. And so there are several types of swamps in Florida, and these can be homes to creatures like frogs and alligators. But one of the most famous swamps in Florida is the Everglades. This is another picture of swamps. It's very wet. And there are these tall trees that have this moss hanging down called Spanish moss. And so the Everglades is also known as the river of grass because it's actually a very slow-moving river. And they use these type of boats when they travel across the Everglades. And the Everglades are a very large region. So as you can see on this map, it's most of the southern part of Florida. So label draw this outline on your map, just a rough outline, it doesn't have to be perfect, and label it Everglades. And if you would put swamp in parentheses so you remember that the Everglades are a kind of swamp.
What color is green?
Yeah, green would be good.
All of those lines.
Yeah, this whole, no, those are highways. This whole outline here
Okay.
are the Everglades.
I have the same question.
So people in Florida have had to be very creative with their building because you can't really build houses or cities in water. And so they've had to come up with different ways of dealing with that type of water. And we will talk about that later in a different lesson. Okay, so the president has asked us to create a 51st state. So I would like you to flip your Florida paper over, and you may design your own state. And so right now I'm handing you one of the keys that you will have to, that we talked about earlier with the color coding system. And so we will review that in a second. So you will glue this in the corner, the bottom corner of your map. Okay, so what does that 0 mean in the middle? Who can tell me what the 0 means? Sea level, all right. So what goes above the sea level? Mountains, yes. So the green would be above the sea level on this. And so will it get lighter towards the top or darker towards the top? Darker. So you can shade that and use that to create your own state. And then will it get, for the bottom, if it's blue, if it is blue, and so will it get lighter or darker when we go down? Darker, good. Okay, so fist of 5, gauge your own understanding. So 1 being, I totally understand this color coding system, or 5, I don't get this at all, please come help me. Okay, good understanding. So there are directions on the board, and you can start creating your state. Okay, so I'm almost out of time. So we would spend some time creating our states and then sharing them at the end. And after that, we would talk about, I would transition into a science lesson about earthkeeping and continue to talk about things that we can do to take care of the earth and our geographic land. So thank you for listening.
Tell us about your modifications.
Yes, okay, so for an intellectual disability, I would have informed them, like for the review, which landform they would have to do so they could be thinking about which one they wanted, or which one they were going to label up here instead of having the so much anticipation for not knowing which one they would have. And I'd also give them a PowerPoint of, or a copy of the PowerPoint with notes on it so they could follow along or like trace their finger like on Atlantic Ocean as they're copying it onto their paper so they don't have to like look up and down so much. And then for orthopedic, I would have sticker labels instead of like having to have them write it. And they might have to have someone peel them for them, or I could do it beforehand and like put it on their desk. And and then for the shading, they could use grips or have like a high school helper or a para help them shade where they point to. All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, fill out your feedback forms for Becca.